tonight. We've got a great lineup.
You're live.
We'll be talking tonight a lot about the forecast for the recent nor'easter that hit a bunch of the East Coast. I would say about 90% of the forecast area verified, just about 30 miles east of New York City, which is where we're streaming live right now. Probably had over 20 inches or so, 17 or 18 inches, and we were watching that band as it moves west. Then we realized that some of the models had initialized the center a little bit too far west, and by that time it was too late, really, and the travel ban was in effect, and couldn't even get within a block away from our location here without getting shut down. But it looks like we've got another nor'easter heading our way Sunday into Monday, and we've got Maria, who's actually just right in the other room right now.
Hi.
She's been taking a little bit of heat for a forecast, even though I thought hers was more accurate than most. And she saw the nor'easter coming too. Let me know like a week in advance. We were supposed to go to New England for a big time nor'easter, and then it happened. But anyway, we got another one coming up, and we'll talk about that and how Maria got into weather too. There's a lot of females out there that are also very interested in storm chasing and meteorology, and we wanted to have two of those, two storm chasers and extreme weather enthusiasts and meteorologists here. We've also got Anita out in Holland, and she's going to be covering some thunder snow tomorrow. Right, Anita?
I hope so, yes.
And then we've got the most crisp live stream delivered in TVN history with Don Murray from Atlanta.
With duct tape and a suction cup, and that's all you need apparently to be the most spectacular stream ever. I would find that debatable, but
just comes down to passion. And then we've got Seth, who once again with his pro background and set the standard in terms of a professional podcast backdrops, and also Seth is the brains behind our TVN Live platform, and this podcast is in support of that. So if you could just contribute $1, that'd be a huge help for us for 2015 to keep our live streaming platform going. And Seth, do you want to give some updates on that, and then we'll get to everybody's story and questions and everything? Hello?
Yeah, just go.
All right, I think Seth might be having some technical difficulties over there. That's okay though. Yeah. But we're at about right now. Our IndieGoGo campaign is just over 16,000. We still got a long way to go to reach our goal, but we got about 20 days left. So we're going to keep hammering out these podcasts and kind of use the momentum to launch a series of podcasts going into storm season. And it's also kind of fun to talk about recent nor'easters like the one that hit the Northeast with nearly 3 feet of snow. Actually, I think there were some official reports of 3 feet. Is that right, Maria? Were there some 3-foot reports out there?
The highest I saw was 36 inches in multiple locations, Massachusetts. But I didn't see the updated totals for Maine. I could actually look that up right now.
Yeah, that heaviest band just sat just west of Boston. You could tell where the heaviest totals were going to be.
Yeah, that's where we chased a nor'easter from Saturday. We were right in that same location that got hit by 36 inches of snow. We should have just stayed.
It'd have been awesome to be there.
Yeah. Let's see.
It'd have been awesome being on the Cape there, too, with 70-mile-an-hour winds.
Oh, yeah, that would have been insane.
Yeah.
Maybe like chasing a hurricane almost. Did you see Mike Seidel's footage, too, of the storm surge slamming the multiple foot deep drifts, too? That was pretty incredible.
Yeah, I didn't see that, but I heard there was a lot of coastal flooding.
Yeah, Plymouth, Massachusetts looked amazing in those live shots with the wind and snow.
Yeah, I wish I would have caught that.
Seth said he can still see and hear us all still.
You can't hear me at all?
Audio. What's that, Seth?
You can't hear me?
I can hear you now. There we go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're good to go now. But yeah, we just were giving some updates on the IndieGoGo page and talking about the recent nor'easter. And one thing that we noticed was that the Euro, which forecasted Sandy so accurately, kind of did that left-hand turn as well and had more of a negatively tilted trough, and then kind of retrograded the system a little bit. And it was kind of hinting at that a little bit with this nor'easter, which is why we thought New York City would get so slammed. But then the GFS, more progressive kind of flat solution, ended up verifying. It's kind of interesting.
I found the snow totals. There are three 3-foot ones. Auburn, Hudson, and Lunenburg, all in Massachusetts. Worcester, which we were right by on Saturday for the other nor'easter, got 32 inches of snow. Westford, 33 inches, right in that same area. Pretty
That's
good.
cool.
Oh, wow.
So, Anita, you expected a thunder snow out there. How much snow are you expecting in Holland?
Not that much. They are just snow showers, by the looks of it now, with some thunderstorms. But I've seen until tomorrow, 12 o'clock, actually Friday, 12 UTC, I've seen there won't be falling a layer, about 10 centimeters, for as long as it lasts, because snow will accumulate more inland and not in the west. So, yeah. It's actually pretty tricky, this one, to predict, I must say.
Mm-hmm. Nice. So how did you get into meteorology? What's your story?
Don't laugh. It started when I was about 11. I saw the movie Twister, and I wanted to chase tornadoes. And I went to the library very often back then because there was no internet. And yeah, I did a lot of research how the weather worked and why tornadoes were there, and yeah, and it grew with the years. And back in 2004, on 17 July, this big shelf cloud, very laminar, very lots of layers, approached my town, and I was like, what the fuck? And yeah, I wanted to go out and chasing, so I did.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Back in 2012 in Germany, I intercepted my first supercell. So.
Oh, did it produce a tornado?
No, not that. But it had an impressive storm cloud.
So you run the account, the Meteo Europe site, which I always post and share a lot of photos on Facebook and Twitter. And how long have you run that website?
Not that long yet. Since last year, March. And first I had another page called Storm Hunter NL, but actually I wanted to stop with that one and go further with Meteor. But Facebook said, yeah, if you have more than 200 fans, it's not possible to change the name. So I had to make a new page, and so I did.
Nice. Wow. Well, that's cool. Yeah, you post a lot of great photos and everything. So everybody out there, if you want to check out some severe weather photos in Europe, the Meteo Europe site is definitely one you can check out. We just had Marco, too, last week that does Severe Weather Europe, and I post both of your guys' content on there. Those are probably two of the best. And Don, how did you get into racing?
Well, I mean, I've always loved weather and meteorology. I mean, ever since I can remember, I can't really remember a defining moment of what got me into it. But I've always had a passion for it. I'd be that weird little kid, always outside in any kind of extreme weather, thunderstorms, the winter storms, and I'd always have to be yelled at as a little kid to be brought inside as, you know, hail starting to fall. I'll be 6 years old out there trying to collect the hail. So, and then from there, it just kind of grew. So it wasn't the movie Twister. I mean, that was kind of a cool movie as I was a little kid. So I could definitely say that that wasn't my initiation into meteorology. I started to grow into it a little more. I went into the military shortly after high school and started utilizing, and I learned a lot more about meteorology in the military, where I used it, and we nuclear, biological, and chemical agents, and my job was to forecast some of the different variables and the plumes and where they were going to go, and that was really a big factor in how I got a lot of my education. And then from there, I did online at Mississippi State University, the OMP program, and from here now what I'm doing is I'm working in the private sector, working within the restoration. Consulting for the restoration industry.
Wow. Oh, thank you for your service.
No.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and wow, did you ever have to forecast any potential?
Fortunately, no. I mean, that was really, during the Iraq War, there really wasn't any chemical warfare. That was the big fear, but there really wasn't anything to be forecasting, thankfully, but we still had to do drills, and it was definitely a unique experience, at least in the military side of that, to bring into the civilian world, which was it's a neat experience.
Did you see any crazy haboobs? Any big time dust storms out there?
Came close to one, but we were never engulfed in one. I saw one from a distance, but nothing that really came. I definitely didn't have a camera where I could take a picture of it either. Back then I was just like, oh, look at that. But they are pretty neat.
And Maria, I know how you got into meteorology. A lot of times we have like a big weather story or something when we were younger. I know I was scared to death of just thunder and lightning, so I don't really have a very dramatic story, but Maria has a pretty dramatic one, and she has a tattoo, too, of a tropical cyclone on her wrist, which is, when I first saw that, when we first met, I was like, this is the real deal right here.
There it is.
Nice.
Yeah. That's incredible. And now I can't get a tornado tattoo because then it would just look like I was following what she was doing. It just looked like the lightning back her neck. So that's definitely extreme.
Yeah. Yeah, I just got that one recently with Reed in the tattoo parlor. It was very scary and painful, but it's done now. No going back.
Tell us about Hurricane Andrew, and that's how you got into weather. It's a crazy story. I know that.
Wow.
Yeah, I was 5 years old, living in South Florida. I was born in Nicaragua, so my family came from there with asylum with nothing. We were living in kind of not the greatest neighborhood in this apartment building. And all of a sudden, here comes Cat 5, Hurricane Andrew. The eye missed us, I think, by less than 100 miles. So it was south of us, not exactly sure on the distance, but it hit head-on that Florida City Homestead area and caused significant damage. And where we were, we got very strong winds. I remember, before the storm, just watching nonstop coverage. I didn't know what a hurricane was. We didn't really know what was going to happen. We would hear about flooding, and we didn't know how bad that would be. And then the storm came, and there were glass windows shattering everywhere. The strong wind, that sound was just for hours and hours all night. You could see water coming into the apartment building underneath the front door, which was really scary too. And the bathtub, we had to fill it with water, and the plumbing was making this crazy loud sound too. So we were just terrified. Had like a mattress in the bathroom, really small. Me and my parents just kind of huddled in there, just waiting for it to go by. And when it was over, there was a lot of damage outside. Big pickup trucks moved, trees down, damage to homes. Yeah, so that's how I got into it.
Wow.
Yeah, it was kind of this thing where you want to understand it and you want to help get those warnings out. And so I entered communications and just kind of getting my graduate degree now in Columbia.
Nice. And you said there was also some experience with looters coming too the next day, right? Weren't you guys hiding out and everything when they're going through your stuff?
Yeah, the damage was kind of crazy. The zoo animals broke out, so that was a big concern because there would be these giant gorillas just kind of running around. And they're like, we don't know where they are, just be careful. I remember hearing that. There was also this, there were looters, and there was this one particular group, they were called like the 12 Bandits. And I grew up in a Spanish-speaking household, so I remember these things with Spanish words. But it was the 12 Bandits, and they were just breaking into everything. And there was one night that they hit our neighborhood, which was no surprise. I mean, it was just kind of like an okay neighborhood. And we had to hide in the bedroom. They walked into like the living room, didn't take anything, just walked back out. That was it. It was crazy, really scary. So it wasn't just a storm, but it was everything that happened after too. So I think probably because of that, I love also just kind of trying to imagine what the human impact would be with storms and those things that result with looters or cars stranded, or what could people really be facing with the storm.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Cool. Yeah. Do we have any questions coming in, Seth? Uh-oh. Seth? Seth, if you can't, if we can't hear right now, so you can always just text me any questions that come in too if you want, since I'm not on the forum, or if you guys can see them popping up on social media too. You can send your questions also through Twitter and Facebook. I'm assuming there's probably some questions too about the forecast of nor'easters and everything too. I think they're more difficult to forecast than tornadoes, because with tornadoes you forecast the general area and there are watches and everything, and people assume that even any location within a watch area is not going to get hit. They just assume that, and that's probably a bad thing. That's probably why there's a lot of fatalities even on those tornadoes that are warned well in advance. But when a snowstorm's coming, people expect to get hit. So even if it misses a location by 20 miles, especially in New York City, then people freak out. So I think personally that nor'easters are a lot more difficult to forecast, because first of all, it's the East Coast and a lot of people here, a lot of skeptical people, but also because the models aren't as accurate, I think, for them, because the nor'easter hasn't even formed yet when you're trying to forecast it a couple days in advance, which is different than hurricanes or other systems. So.
Yeah, and with nor'easters, it seems like there's just this misconception that wherever that blob goes, that's where all that heavy snow is going to go. But it's really that one heavy snow band that kind of really sets up in there, or those little multiple ones. And where those end up and sit, that's the area that's going to get hammered. I think that's almost impossible or really, really difficult to predict.
Yeah, definitely.
I must say, I think snow is the most difficult thing to predict.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That's
especially
in my opinion.
Yeah, and with those borderline setups too, when you get a little warmer air aloft, and then it's like, oh, how much is going to switch over? It could be, if it stays all cold, could be a foot. If some of it mixes in, could be 4 inches. I mean, it's just a huge spread. And like Reed said, a lot of skeptical people out here. You get it wrong, you're gonna hear about it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, though, eventually the urbanites out here are going to get brought to their knees by Mother Nature, and I just hope that they're prepared for it. So, Don, you've run a pretty crazy stream recently. What's probably been your most intense storm chasing situation?
Intense would probably have been in 2013, the October 4th setup in Iowa. I was in a 4-wheel drive vehicle, but I had we went on. Josh Alisi was actually with me, but he was driving in a vehicle in front of me, and we were on this road, a tornado warned storm just to our west, and probably like 2 to 3 miles. The rotation couplet was just to our west. But we were like, all right, well, let's try to take a shortcut, and we weren't paying attention to road signs because we were in trucks. We figured, hey, we'll be fine. Dirt road. I mean, it was just mud, bogged down. I mean, that was a scary situation because we had a hill, couldn't see what's coming over the hill, and Josh, he pulled himself up. He was able to pull himself up that hill, but me, I'm sitting there slamming it in 4-wheel drive. And eventually, I was able to kick it out of there. But had there been a tornado coming over that hill, I mean, it would have been bad. So that was my hairiest moment in storm chasing thus far.
Yeah, I remember that day. There was those 2 cells. There was the one in Wayne, Nebraska, then that one just to the east, right, in Iowa, western Iowa. Yeah. I don't remember too much after, right when we were getting out of the cell, up until about 2 miles away, and then bam, next thing I know, I was trying to break out of the hospital in Sioux City. Right. And they were trying to keep in there. They're like, there's rotation above the hospital. I obviously wanted to get out and see it. I'm like, and I didn't really know what was going on, but that was one that I wish that I was there for sure. But I do remember about a mile or two up before we intercepted seeing a tornado off in the distance, but that doesn't get it done for me. Need to be a little closer than 2 miles.
All right.
I wouldn't recommend for anyone out there, but of course, safety first. So, Anita, what's your what is storm chasing pretty easy to do in Europe? I know we had a couple of guests last week that have done some chasing out there, but you're our first guest from Holland. So, what's storm chasing like out there?
It's pretty easy actually, but there are a lot of trees, so yeah, it makes it a bit difficult. But I have to say, I mostly go to Germany to chase storms. So yeah, because I live near the German border and storms get more intense there. So and yeah, where I live. You must see it like this: when storms approach us from the southwest, for example, from northern France, they die before my town, and they activate again after it and into Germany. So the best thing is to go further east into Germany and intercept them there, because they get more intense again, and there also is the orography that plays a role, because there are some hills. No, not very high, but it helps.
Where are the Alps? Okay, those are tiers south, I guess, is southeast, right? So do you usually have to? Is there a plains region in northern Germany there that where they have decent storm chasing terrain?
Yeah, just the west, but it's actually the far west that's is next to my region actually, and about 20 kilometers later. Further east, it's already going up. So no real plains, only in the Netherlands.
Nice. Well, we do have a question coming in here from Seth. This one says, how do you guys feel about all these upcoming weather projects and experiments going on for this year's 2015 season? And do you feel it will interfere in any way with fellow storm chasers or yourself and the team? I don't really know too much about the upcoming weather projects and experiments. I know a couple of them. The project out there involving the drones, the Siren project that I see so much on Twitter and everything, and also there are several experiments out there too. I know the balloon project that's been going on for live streaming. That's another good one. But the aerials definitely won't impact us, and I'm all for these experiments. I love to see the results, and I think the more experiments that are going on out there, the better, as long as everybody stays safe in the end, or at least it's not me. It's not my place really to judge other people's safety, because we get relatively close. But I always hope everything works out well for everybody. But the aerial drone projects are really exciting. I think that's the future of storm chasing. Our networks and swarms of these unmanned aerial vehicles flying into tornadoes and capturing data and video inside. I think that's going to be really fun. But yeah, I think the more the better. And when we get really close to the tornadoes, the crowd really thin out. That's one thing good. But what do you guys think?
I think the drones will be really great for storm chasing, to be able to kind of get that different perspective, and always the more data the better, right, with any weather scenario.
Now, I wonder if that question was maybe intended as to maybe tornado reduction in the plains. You hear some of these theories about if you can put up a wall to stop maybe moisture from the Gulf of Mexico coming up into the plains. Is that going to stop tornadoes? You hear those types of theories out there too. So maybe that's what that question was geared toward. Maybe those types of experiments. Maybe, I don't know.
I'd be upset if they put the wall near. They're saying what if you put a wall near the across the Kansas-Oklahoma border?
Right.
Would be able to get by it if the wall was 5 or 10 kilometers high. It'd be frustrating running into that thing, and not be able to get around it. But
right. And things like that have been getting a lot of attention, especially in social media. So I mean, maybe we should talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I think if it works, it'd be. I don't like messing with Mother Nature too much at all, because I think that it makes up for. It always Mother Nature tries to find a way to
energy release.
Yeah, but do you think that a wall 10 kilometers high would work? Would it Would it prevent tornadoes from crossing it? Maybe prevent moisture transport, advection, probably all kinds of things, right?
That's hard to say.
Would it go crazy south of the wall, though? Won't they still get moisture there?
It would probably be a little right at the boundary condition. You just have things go really insane, increasingly crazy right near the wall, and then it right at it.
That might be good. You know, it'll be one localized area getting impacted every time.
Yeah, boundary, probably all kinds of gravity waves slamming into it and everything, or ricocheting everywhere. All kinds of atmospheric waves getting created by it and everything. You probably have a gravity wave bouncing back the other way, hitting the low-level jet, and blowing up storms in the middle of nowhere. You wouldn't even need a dry line or anything. So.
Then I'm all for the wall if that happens.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
That's so great.
I think in general humans do think they have more significance relative to Mother Nature. You know, I think that our ability to, well, besides obviously global warming and releasing CO2 over time, but I think when we try to modify the weather too much like that, things are really going to get crazy. And if we pay for it, I'll be there to chase it. I know that. We have another question here. What are some of your worst stories with chaser convergence? Like too many traffic jams out there when we're storm chasing. Maria, I know we share one from Iowa with that guy on road rage that was trying to run our whole vehicles off the road, but that was interesting.
Yeah, I think we have video of it still somewhere. We captured it with the GoPro head cam. This one guy wouldn't let us pass him, and he was going the speed limit, but we were really close to, what was it? Was it tornado warned?
Yeah, I did. I just gotten tornado warned, or if it wasn't, then it definitely should have been. I think that cell that was in July up near there, Interstate 80, just north of there.
Yeah, and he just wouldn't let us pass, and then every time we tried to pass, he'd cut us off. He'd merge into us, and that went on for a little while. It was a little scary.
I made eye contact with him too once. I stuck my head out the window, and the guy looked over at me, and he must have been on meth or some type of drug, I'm guessing. His eyes were crazy. I saw his eyes. I was like, this is not someone that's thinking rationally. We want to get out of here as soon as possible. And yeah, that was pretty scary. Have you ever had any issues with that, Don?
This year, actually, I had Nebraska was the state for the tornadoes this year, so this is where everybody went, and I believe it was just west of Lincoln, and it was the one supercell of the day, and it kind of went up through Omaha. That I actually have video of that myself, and that was pretty crazy. I mean, you couldn't get it anywhere. And once you get into that, I mean, what I try to do is I try to just back away. I mean, you can look at Spotter Network and the GR level 3 and see where all the spotters are going for the most part. But once you get to where you have just a mass amount of people into one storm, for me it takes the the fun, the thrill of it away, because you got all these different people getting in your way. So preferably be on your own storm. That's always the goal, but nowadays, I mean, that's getting a little more challenging. But that might actually add to the fun to it too. If you can get on your own storm, and while hundreds of other chasers are over there, that just might add more to the challenge to it. But yeah, and then last year, or in 2013, the day before El Reno, just north of Oklahoma City, some supercells were developing, and that was some crazy chaser convergence. I actually ended up getting right behind you, and a odometer too behind that one. It was just, I believe it was an east-west road. I don't know, I forget what highway it was.
El Reno tornado?
No, this was the day before El Reno.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there were supercells. Yeah, leading up to this was May 30th. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if it was Shawnee. No, I think it was.
Right near Cushing, I think we ended up. Yeah. Connor ended up putting the car in the ditch or something, didn't he? I think he was in Dominator 1, and we had Dominator 2 out there, and there's a lot of chaser convergence that day, right? And Connor slid off the road, and then everybody that went by took pictures saying that he got in an accident, and it was at a Dominator, so they said it was me. But I was actually
Yeah. Anita, what is storm chasing like over there? Are there a lot of other storm chasers?
Not like in the US, but there are actually, because last summer I was going to Germany as well with a chase buddy, and we saw this hill where we want to stand on, and we could see for 100 kilometers inland. And there were actually 4 other teams standing there, and they actually were a bit annoying us because they were using their headlights to ruin our photos. So.
Whoa, that's intense.
Yeah, so it happens, but not a lot. Mostly we find a spot and we're alone.
I would be so upset if they did that.
Do they issue tornado watches and storm watches and everything in Europe? Is it Estofex? Is that the main website, like the Storm Prediction Center counterpart over there?
Yes, they do give out levels also for tornadoes, but it's voluntary. So it's not a weather service, and people don't rely on it very much.
So it's not like a government organization that you depend on? It's
no,
not like a
not for tornado watches or tornado warnings, no.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean? What do you mean by volunteer?
They are meteorologists, and they do it in their spare time. They make a forecast for Estofex, and one day it's there, another day not. It's very. We can't depend on it. Let's say it that way.
Interesting.
Yeah. So mostly I go through models myself. A lot of chasers do it. So.
Do you, as the European model, your number one model, I'm guessing?
Go Euro.
It's a pretty accurate model, but I must say, short-term GFS as well, and we also have WRF. I believe it's called. How is it called over there?
Wharf or the WRF model?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I think we have the Wharf over here as well. We used to so.
And also we have local models like Hirlam.
What's it called?
Hirlam.
Model? Oh.
Hirlam.
Interesting. That'll probably be a good one to run for the thunder snow setup tomorrow.
It doesn't show snow accumulations. It only shows accumulations for rain, unfortunately. But your Euro model for snow is my favorite.
Are some of your colleagues over there upset with how the Euro performed with the Nor'easter here a couple days ago?
I saw Euro model was very positive.
I think who knows if it's for the right reasons or it's not necessarily my model. I go with the Reed model was showing about 5 or 6 feet of snow in New York City.
I saw you also posted another one that was very positive. It also overestimated things. What was that? The NAM?
Yeah, the NAM also.
Yeah, the NAM.
Yeah, the NAM. They were definitely forecasting that lobe kind of hang back and the storm to be a lot closer to the coast and try to even retrograde a little bit. And the Reed model usually added about 10 inches to the NAM model. We were going 4 to 5 feet. So. What was the Maria model go with?
9.8 inches in Central Park. Just kidding. I mean, we went with the National Weather Service and the Euro. I mean, it was supposed to turn in a little bit, but it didn't. And I mean, honestly, had that forecast missed for another town farther inland, and still got it right for New York City, this would probably not be as big of a media story. But the fact that it was missed in New York City, the fact that there was that travel ban that hasn't been done in like over 100 years, it was $200 million to shut down the city with that travel ban. So I think that's why there's a lot more heat, understandably so, for that forecast.
Do you feel a lot of pressure forecasting kind of on us, under a microscope more at for a media network like Fox? Like, 'cause if you make a wrong forecast for New York City, people are going to blame you and say the meteorologist is always wrong. Usually, is that frustrating, or do you think it will cause you to change your forecast a little bit from what you really think is going to happen? Because for me, I can just let it rip on Facebook and Twitter all day long with less accountability. Obviously I don't do that. I really do post what I think is going to happen, but I think that. Do you feel like you're under a microscope a little bit?
I do think so. I do feel that way. I think any forecast for New York City, sadly, I mean, people are going to say they're not going to let it affect them and that they're just going to stick to the computer models and stick to their forecasts. But I know in the back of our minds it's going to be there when we're making a call like that for New York City going forward. And I just hope it gets forgotten and people don't feel that way next time, because I think the risk was very real. It was just like 50 miles east of here, 30 miles east of here, there was significant snow. Those blizzard conditions could have very easily been here, and honestly, the city was cleaned up a lot faster than it would have ever been because of that travel ban, because it just had access to keep cleaning the snow off the streets and the sidewalks through the overnight and even the next day. There weren't a lot of cars once the travel ban was lifted. So I don't know. I think it's kind of it was a tough situation. Had the blizzard conditions happened and had the mayor not issued the travel ban, who knows what would have happened? Maybe something really bad. Turned out the other way, where people were more prepared for the conditions in New York City, which is always good. I mean, Reed and I were in Buffalo for the, 7 feet of snow. Granted, that wasn't the forecast in New York City, but that was a disaster even for Buffalo, for South Buffalo, where they're used to getting a lot of snow. People were trapped on highways. People died in their cars. I think
think about it, a week in advance, they missed the Buffalo forecast by about 4 feet. They under forecasted by 4 or 5 feet. And some locations.
You'll get these too. This is actually the 1-year anniversary of the Superstorm in Atlanta, Georgia, where you had most of the metropolitan area shut down for 2 days for 2 inches of snow at most. And even there, the National Weather Service and forecasters got some grief because they didn't forecast it, even though there were winter storm watches issued days in advance. So I think a lot of this is an education issue too with the general public and the media to really educate especially government officials. I think there's a lot of the educating that needs to be taking place there, but maybe over time.
I wonder if the mayor, during his press conference, the only thing he would have done different if he would have said, oh, the storm could go east and it could be a lot less here, but we want to be safe. But I wonder if he said that, if it would have made a difference. I don't know.
Right.
During his press conference, meteorologist, if we would have kind of really driven that point home.
It'll be interesting if they do a social study on this storm and seeing what exactly could have been done differently and what the results of that will be and what any improvements will come out of it. So that'll be interesting to see what happens.
I'm typically against a travel ban, usually, overall. I mean, obviously for storm chasing, it starts limiting your mobility and you start freaking out. But I think that having those too far placed in advance, I think it's really good and helps. But I also think that people can be responsible for their own safety if they're given a warning and stuff like that. And I think that maybe that stems from childhood or something. My mom used to get in trouble, a lot for doing, obviously I was kind of a crazy kid growing up, so maybe it comes from that. But still, I think just having that travel ban just kind of feels a little weird, honestly. Unless it's really needed, like in Buffalo, it's obviously really needed in certain situations. But the preemptive travel ban, though, to shut down all that stuff that far in advance. I mean, I know you probably have to do it that far in advance for New York City because it's obviously a lot bigger than Norman, Oklahoma. But
yeah, maybe you have some kind of threshold, like once this amount of, or these conditions develop, the travel ban takes in effect. But then
it takes time with the snowstorm, for conditions to go downhill. Like when it usually takes it's more of a progression, a storm that progresses rather than just hits you like a tornado. Where maybe they could issue the travel ban, kind of a step-by-step procedure that they go by, that where the end result is an all-out shutdown.
Yeah, there could have been an hour or two notice had that band made it further west. You'd be able to see that on radar. Okay, that heavy band is getting ready to sit up over New York City. Now we can institute the ban before that heavy snow band makes it over the metro area. Things like that could have been done.
And even with the models changing slightly at the end, there are still some holdouts too that were showing it coming in. And I was watching those on radar, and I still saw that band kind of drifting west and parking over New York City. And if it did for another 2 more hours, we would have had 16, 17, 18 inches of snow, and then it wouldn't be discussed as a bust. So these nor'easters, they're so close to just a little wobble to the left, 5 or 10 miles, would keep the snow here for another 45 minutes to an hour. And with 2 to 4 inch per hour snowfall rates, it can make a big difference.
I can't believe how close it came.
But that's what makes weather fun. I always say it's like just like you go to the casino because you potentially might lose. It makes it more fun to win. So weather, if you get them wrong, it just makes it more fun when you get it right, and makes you work harder and learn more during that whole process too. So there's always a silver lining, I guess. It's
a humbling career.
Yeah, it's storm chasers, we get used to the bust, right? Standards that a bust, that anything, it's amazing, All right, we got some questions coming in here. What is the furthest north you have chased, and what kind of storm was it? Anita, how about you?
The furthest what?
The furthest north latitude you've ever chased a storm. I'm guessing you probably chased some North Sea action, right?
No, I've never been up north. I always go down south or east. I drove to Switzerland last summer. It's about 900 kilometers to chase a storm.
What kind of storm was it?
Well, it was actually just a single cell, but it was a beautiful one. It was over the Lake of Geneva, and the stars were with it, and it was a beautiful cell. I caught some triple lightnings, and yeah.
That's awesome. You a big lightning?
Well, actually, we expected a bit more, but it didn't happen.
Anita, I've never been to Europe, but are there roads that you can go really fast on in Germany?
Yes.
So is that a plus for storm chasing?
No. But you can go off anytime. So, but it's true about Germany. There are roads, highways. You can on some parts you can drive faster than 130 kilometers per hour. It's about what is that in miles?
That's what, 130? That's probably about what, 70, 80 miles an hour or something like that? 90 miles an hour?
Oh, yeah, you might be right, yeah.
About 90.
100 miles. Yeah. So I was like...
last year. I'm just kidding. Never.
I was driving 160 kilometers per hour when I went to Switzerland because I had to be there in time.
Whoa. Wow, that's bad.
But it's allowed. The Germans go even faster.
It would take the Dominator about 2 days to get up to that speed. How about you, Don?
The furthest north, probably Michigan. Especially doing a lot of the water spout chases, lake effect chases. I guess, actual storm chasing, supercell structure, that type of chasing. Probably South Dakota, down by around Rapid City.
Over the Great Lakes?
I've attempted to capture some water spouts, especially on Lake Michigan, especially as the cold season's getting ready to approach, but haven't had any luck yet. It's one of those things on my bucket list to catch a water spout.
Me too. But, yeah, I want to catch one. I know you and I were down in Florida chasing one and missed it by a day, but it's pretty random, I think.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you get one, it's just like to soak it up.
Marco Corsac, sounds like he's pretty routine for him, that North Adriatic, but
Yeah, that must be nice.
It's very active. Croatia and Slovenia, also good for water spouts.
Do you guys get any water spouts off the North Sea, or is the water too cold there?
No, it happens during fall when water still is a bit warmer and cooler areas there up there. Then it happens.
Nice. Did you know that Timmer is a Dutch name?
Yes, I've heard, but I don't know what the story behind it is.
Yeah, I know. My dad is half Dutch.
Okay.
So. Yeah, or his grandma, I think, was immigrated from Holland. So that's how I think of it.
You don't know what part?
I'm not sure exactly what part. I'm guessing probably pretty close to Amsterdam.
Okay.
I guess everything's pretty close there. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly where, but I know that I do really enjoy speed skating and rollerblading too. So I know that in the Netherlands too, you guys have a great speed skating team. So I wonder if some of that natural ability might have come from speed skating. It's possible.
He is really good, I will say.
That's from Michigan, probably growing up there. Learned how to skate first, but I was able to visit there, and I remember seeing the big windmills in the north. I was back in 2000. I was in Holland, which was a good time.
Cool.
They're used to grind, so right, to make dye. Is that what they are? The windmills are used for?
Not that I know of. Not that I know of.
I remember visiting them, the big windmills, and they spin around, and so they have these big. They're used to grind something. I thought they're used to make dye. But I'm not 100% sure on that, but it was pretty neat. There's a lot of wind, I guess, off the North Sea. But anyway.
Yes, that's true. Yes.
Mm-hmm. All right. Hold on, I got some more questions coming in here. The closest call you've had with a storm? I guess I'll take the furthest north one. The closest call is definitely window blowouts and all kinds of stuff. But the furthest north I've ever chased was Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, and it was I think back in 2012. And it was amazing up there because it stays light until like 11:30 too. So you can see a tornado even at 11, like perfectly backlit. That was one thing that was great about chasing Canada. And I think the Coriolis force is stronger up there too, so the tornadoes are stronger. Right, Seth? Oh,
yeah,
that's right. Oh, he can respond. I was thinking, take that as an opportunity to talk about your backdrop again. So, Maria, for people that are interested in following your career path, I know that when we first started talking, you decided about going into academia or TV, and you end up deciding to do both. But what advice do you give people that are maybe facing that decision before starting college, or maybe they're in the middle of it and trying to decide which way to go?
I think it's always good to, if you're really passionate about weather and meteorology and enjoy science and math, to, go to school and get the bachelor's and in meteorology and study weather. And when I was in undergrad, I completed a undergraduate thesis, so I would do some undergraduate research work, and so that was a good way to kind of figure out, do I want to enter more research? Do I want to just stay in school? Do I want to try to do communications? There was also a student-run weather TV show that we had at Florida State, so I worked in that as well to kind of test it out and feel how I felt communicating on a TV camera. And I was really bad, really bad on that show. My first segment was 1 minute long, and within like 20 seconds in, I was freaking out, could barely talk. It was live, so I couldn't just like redo it. And so TV was not a natural thing, but I ended up moving back home. I wasn't exactly sure what I was going to do once I graduated, became a 7th grade earth-space science teacher, loved that too, and then kept applying to TV stations, and got a job at AccuWeather, and I have to say I still don't really know. I mean, I love academia, I love TV, I love research. I think it's all, if you love doing all of that, there's maybe no reason to choose. I'm able to thankfully work in the morning and go to grad school in the afternoon, so I'll do it for as long as I can. So it's complete.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't chosen yet, I guess. I just realized.
What's wrong with that? So, Don, for people that may want to get into meteorology and the armed forces, what do you recommend?
Well, I mean, definitely you want to have a good background in science and math before going in, because you're going to want to score high on your ASVAB going into that, so you can place high and get put into that program. And then in the Army, it's the MOS is 13T, so and that will be your operational meteorology in the Army. So, and then just getting out, I mean, in the private sector, you know, just being a private consulting meteorologist. Again, it's helpful. There's good online schools if you want to attend those. I mean, there's other various programs across the country. A good one's Mississippi State University. They have great online programs, and I mean, it's really about what you want to do in this field. I mean, you have the private sector, you have the National Weather Service, you have media. I didn't want to go too much into media. I kind of wanted to do my own thing. But at the same time, because meteorology, I mean, there's just all these new technologies, and I kind of wanted to be free to kind of develop my own and do my own thing. So I was thinking, why not network within the restoration industry? So I started networking and reaching out to some of these contractors and some of these big restoration companies, because they use this information. You know, they use the information such as hail tracking, you know, where severe weather has occurred. So there's a real market, coming up here in the next few years, especially within the restoration industry, for private sector meteorologists.
Nice. How about in Europe, Anita? Is for someone that's interested in getting into meteorology or storm chasing, what do you recommend?
For meteorology, I think it's for the best in at school. You follow indeed the subjects. The science subjects and math, and after that you go to meteorology. In the Netherlands it's only one place. It's in central Netherlands. It's a bit difficult, but I don't know how it is in, for example, Germany, because there are more universities perhaps where you can do meteorology. And for storm chasing, I would say take Skywon classes or either online classes like meteorology. It's also a good one.
Yeah, that's really good. I know. Also, I studied it for a year at Reading University in England too, which is a good. It was really fun on there. I know, and there's definitely a greater emphasis on the synoptic meteorology, I thought, and you can finish your degree too in 3 years because you focus so heavily on meteorology that you don't have to worry about taking all the core classes and everything that they do in the U.S., which I thought was really good. And you can also get a PhD in 3 years too. So, whereas it took me about 15, I think, 14. So I could have done it a little faster, but I still would have missed a few storm seasons, and that wouldn't have been worth it though.
Are you done now?
I just turned it in. I turned in the dissertation, and I still have to do my seminar and then my defense. So it should be in late March or early April. So I'm thankful for the opportunity to defend it and then maybe share it with the rest of the community. It's been a long road, that's for sure. And I couldn't have done it without Maria's help, honestly.
It was already done.
That's true. The front matter was huge too. It was hard. The table of contents and all those intense parts, and she revised it too, and even found some grammatical errors that Dr. Lamb had missed, my late advisor. So, and that's hard to do. Trust me, that guy, he was a machine.
Well, it was really, really excellent, and I can't wait for you to be able to share it with everyone.
All right, moving on. Seth, you got anything to say?
No, not really.
What's that?
Not really. But
that really is a great background. It has texture.
Yeah, it took me a few iterations to perfect it, I guess.
Looks like Don's got a green screen back there.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is my my home studio, if you will.
What do you mean? Do you broadcast from there?
Oh yeah, actually, with some of our products that I produce for my clients, I actually do morning broadcasts for their coverage areas. I kind of do with different service areas. I kind of operate somewhat like the National Weather Service would, but I have different clients across the United States, and I always, if there's going to be any inclement weather within one of their coverage areas or wherever areas they serve, I'll put a little video bulletin on their profile page, and we're doing a lot more too with media with what we're doing with storm damage services and also severe maps. We're building a lot of great products within the restoration industry, and a lot of that's going to be using media. Actually, I have a much better green screen studio. It's actually an old doctor's office that's we outfitted into be a studio, and great lighting. It's awesome. So I mean,
man, you're dialed in.
That's really cool.
That's
yeah.
awesome.
I should upload some pictures. I mean, it is pretty neat. It's an old rustic building, but it's really neat, and it's turned into a great studio so far.
Wow.
That's really awesome.
What's that?
Is that what you do at Weatherscope?
No, that's a side organization. I'm trying to bring chasers together. There's some plans. Storm chasers actually can be a key role in this in the future. I mean, probably another year down the road, I started working on some of these other projects with building weather mapping applications. That kind of got me sidetracked away from WX scope. But the idea is storm chasers can actually have the ability to network with these contractors, and contractors can learn from storm chasers, and storm chasers can learn from contractors. And this is actually something in the future that's we're trying to develop is a storm chaser who's, let's say, in Wichita, Kansas. Let's say there's a severe weather event getting ready to happen that day. Well, we have a storm chaser in this contractor who covers Wichita, Kansas. Well, let's link that storm chaser up with this contractor and kind of keep them in communication. And that's a way of monetizing, but it's also a way for the contractor to learn, and also a way for a storm chaser to learn from the contractor about storm damage and what it goes both ways. So I mean, it's going to be a unique project, and I'm looking forward to developing it over the next few years.
That's awesome. Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's really unique, and the one thing I think will really benefit too is a storm chaser. I mean, if you go into a damaged neighborhood, you see all these. We're networking with local contractors that are in that region, so a storm chaser will actually be able to help a homeowner a lot more. They'll be able to say, hey, look, we know a contractor. Let's go ahead and get some tarps up on your roof and take care of this right now. And they'll be local. They're not going to – it also solves the problem of fly-by-night contractors that fly in from different regions, and then it destroys that industry. So, I mean, there's a lot of good that's going to come out of this.
That's neat. Yeah, maybe there's a way the live streams could play a role too. I don't know if there's some way that
there's some synergy. There's some synergy to talk about, but
definitely cool. You're dialed in, that's for sure. Seth, do you have any questions coming in?
Here's one. What do you think the biggest breakthrough in tornado research has been in the past few years?
I would think definitely the greater understanding of, well, one of them obviously is probably more important to me personally, but kind of the better understanding of suction vortices, I think, has interesting. And the recent modeling of the El Reno tornado and resolving some of the finer scale features inside tornadoes, and knowing that it's friction that breaks the vortex breakdown process, and that you could get wind speeds much stronger than that 300 mile per hour threshold on the smaller scales. I think just kind of having a more open mind as to the dynamics inside tornadoes, I think, is something that's definitely important. Dr. Fiedler's work is a really interesting paper to read. If you guys haven't checked it out, you can Google Dr. Fiedler and suction vortices, and it's a good paper to read on it. And he theorizes that the wind speeds in suction vortices could even approach 400 or 500 miles per hour on the real small scales.
I think too, technology-wise, with tornado research, a dual pole, as over the last few years, has been a real help at detecting debris being lofted into the atmosphere, for enhancing warnings. Now issue tornado warnings based off debris being picked off on the dual pole. So radar technologies are definitely a good enhancement.
Yeah, especially off to the east too, where you don't have as many eyes on the tornadoes, and you have more circulations, and a lot of those circulations that are embedded in rain too. Those other radar products are huge. The correlation with products, and the problem is usually when you see those features show up on radar, it means that the storm's already done damage. Sometimes it's lofting that debris in the air, but still, a lot of times those tornadoes are long track for the east in Dixie Alley too. It seems like they're on the ground a lot longer.
I think not maybe so much in research, but social media plays a huge role now, getting the word out with tornadoes and everything. Facebook, posting the watches, warnings, Twitter, and even being able to share the videos. Let's say a storm, it's a multi-day outbreak, and you post videos of the area it hit the day before. That kind of gives a heads up to people that are expected to get hit the next day, like, hey, we saw this with this system here, could do similar damage in your area, so watch out. I think getting the word out is huge in communication. So social media has played such a huge role. I don't think that could have been anticipated.
Right.
Yeah, I have to agree with Maria on that. I think also that social media plays a big role, because the chasers out there see it happen, and also can call to SCAR 1, Spotted Network, and maybe even quicker than local weather services. So.
Seth, do you have any more questions? I panic when it gets silent.
I don't see any right now. Most of the.
We lost.
Can you all hear me still?
It breaks up a little bit, at least from my end. But no worries.
Yeah, I don't really see any new questions that haven't, already been answered.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody have any interesting stories to tell while they're any interesting storm chasing stories?
Yeah, I got one. It was actually the Carthage tornado last year. I missed that because I was in position all day in northwest Iowa for that. And my problem was I didn't anticipate a river flooding and closing bridges. So I had to go around Sioux City, and it just didn't work out. I mean, I saw that supercell develop. It was right there. Like, oh, I can get to it. It's only 10 minutes away. Mm-hmm. And then there's people sandbagging. I'm like, what's going on? Oh, that bridge is closed. I'm like, no, it's not. And I get to it. It's like, no way. So I had to go through. It's getting close to rush hour in Sioux City. So I'm coming down, and it's just over. I'm like, sat here all day, perfect position. I'm there, but I'm not there.
Yeah, that was a frustrating day, too. I think there's been a lot of those. Yeah, it seems like the last few years there's been a lot of those types of situations. It's been tough, complicated forecasts. The HP storms too were a tough one this year on say April 29 of those in northern Mississippi. I just missed a Tupelo tornado, and then we're chasing all those HP tornadoes, and that was a frustrating one. But I wish we were further south for the Louisville tornado that Scott Peak is on. But he's been killing it out there, hasn't he?
Yeah, that day I was actually south of Jackson riding along Interstate 20 where a tornado actually crossed the interstate there. I was actually stuck in traffic because there was debris and cars mangled on Interstate 20 on April 28th. So that was an interesting day.
Oh, yeah. April 28th, was it April 27 was the Mayflower Day, wasn't it? April 28th was the...
Yeah, I think that was Mayflower.
Yeah.
I guess I'm not recalling that.
No,
but...
you're right. Yeah, April 27 was Mayflower. Okay. Yeah, I mean the Mother's Day chase on May 11.
Yeah.
So, Anita, do you make it out to the U.S. Tornado Alley much to chase?
I haven't been there, so but I want to.
Yeah, you should definitely come out and chase out here sometime.
Yes.
But anyway, for people that are just joining us, this podcast was in support of our TVA Weather Live campaign on IndieGoGo too. We're trying to stream live through all of 2015, and Don Murray is one of our best streamers out there. It was good to hear from him about his projects and also working in the armed forces for forecasting. And we've got Anita, who's going to be streaming some thunder snow for us tomorrow in Holland, right?
Yes.
Forward to see the pictures and video and everything of that. And then we've got Maria from Fox News here. She's also an extreme meteorologist, storm chaser. She's gotten me into chasing the East Coast, which is fun. It's definitely a challenge. But check out our IndieGoGo platform if you'd like to enjoy our live streams, and we're going to continue this podcast series. And if you did miss the beginning of it, Seth is going to post the archive. Do you guys have any closing remarks for tonight? About the Nor'easter on Sunday night? What are your predictions on the Nor'easter? You got to pick one right now, GFS or how much do you think in New York City?
8 to 10 inches. Based on the Euro this morning. Hoping the Euro gets validated here coming up.
I'm thinking 17 inches in New York. That's my official forecast right now, but it's still very early to tell, so there's a high uncertainty associated with it, but you guys can write that down. This podcast was made at 9:25 Eastern. Today is Wednesday, January 28th, so that was when this was made. So if it's accurate, then forecast verified, right?
Go with a persistence forecast and go with the GFS. That's a forecasting method, so we'll go with persistence.
Yeah, or you can blend both models and say anywhere from 0 to 1 to 2 feet or something.
Well, it's crazy though. Like the Buffalo event, they're saying like we say 1 to 3 feet. 2 feet is a lot of snow. That's a big difference. So I would say that it seems like when you get greater snow totals, obviously the ranges get bigger too. I think that they should remain still pretty small. Like if I was going to make a forecast of 3 feet, I'd do like a 36 to 38 inches or something like that instead of the 24 to 36.
That's so tough to do.
I would narrow the snow range with higher totals. That's what the Reed model does.
But the snow to the water ratio, it makes it way too difficult.
Yeah, the Reed model just gets more accurate with greater total forecast. Accuracy increases the more extreme the event. So, what's the Deckard model showing for this one? Probably a real conservative forecast, probably.
Day after tomorrow.
Oh. That's your 48-hour forecast?
Yeah.
Day after tomorrow with no travel ban.
Yeah. I'm always forecasting the day after tomorrow for my 48 hour. All right, guys, on that note, never stop chasing. And thank you for joining us, Anita. I know it's late out there in Holland, and good luck chasing the thunderstorm tomorrow.
Thank you.
And Don, we'll see you at we'll see you in NYC then for the Superstorm. I'm glad you're
Oh
here.
yeah. I guess it's gonna be the day after tomorrow, so I guess I better be there to stream that.
Well, we're gonna have Steph be doing his first stream, his first solo chase. He'll be out there too with the Big Apple. Probably be a really pro stream, pro presentation too, I bet. All right, Maria, it's time for you to go to bed. You gotta wake up here in a few hours, don't you?
I need the studio that Don has. I can broadcast from home.
Hey, it's work from home. There you go.
It'd make waking up so much easier at 3 a.m. Just
Don't even
roll
go to the
out of
studio,
bed, put
just
some
do it from
makeup on.
Yeah, Fox should just start using Google Hangouts, you know?
Yeah, this would be awesome. I
They
could
don't
just,
need
you
to
know,
change camera angles. It automatically happens. There's a movement.
open the door back here and show the conditions in New York City, since that's all we care about.
I just upped my forecast to 19 inches now. Just in the last 3 minutes, I'm getting new data in.
The Reed model just updated.
Why not?
Yeah, I just got new data in. All right, guys. Have a good night.
Yeah,
Have a good
thank you.
night.
Thanks, everyone.
Talking with you guys.
Night.